Hi. Good morning, everyone. It's your favorite book or my Mini-Koneko. Thank you so much for joining my Saturday English stream, Shinragi Kaimara-san. I'm so happy to have you here. Today, we are going to dive into the deep, snowy, and incredibly passionate world of Russian literature. I actually have about 23 Russian classics on my wall-to-wall bookshelf, mostly Dostoevsky and Tolstoy, and let me tell you, they are absolute masterpieces. But before we get into my top 7 recommendations, let's talk about where it all began. Russian literature as we know it really exploded in the 19th century, during what we call the Golden Age. Before that, Russian writers were mostly imitating European styles from France or England. But then, Alexander Pushkin arrived. He is often called the son of Russian poetry and the father of modern Russian literature. He gave the language its own unique voice and soul. From Pushkin, the torch was passed to giants like Gogol, Turgenev, and eventually the legendary Dostoevsky and Tolstoy. It's a history of searching for the great Russian soul amidst massive social changes. It's just so dramatic and powerful. I can't wait to share these stories with you. Now, what exactly makes Russian literature so, well, Russian? When people think of Russian books, they often think, oh, it's so long and dark. And yes, it definitely can be. But the true heart of Russian literature is its obsession with the human soul. While some other literatures focus on social status or romance, the giants like Dostoevsky and Tolstoy dive deep into philosophical and existential crises. They ask the most terrifying questions: why do we suffer? What is justice? And can we find God in a world of chaos? It's known for being heavy, but as I always say, it's a different kind of weight than German literature. While German books like The Magic Mountain are very logical and structured, Russian literature is more roundabout and emotionally overwhelming. It directs you into the depths of a character's mind. It's all about the great Russian soul, Shinragi Kaimara-san. It's intense, it's messy, and it's absolutely beautiful. I just love how these stories stay with you for a lifetime. It's not just read, it's an experience that changes who you are. Okay everyone, let's dive into the first book on my list. It's Dead Souls by Nikolai Gogol. You might know him for his famous short stories like The Nosword Yovogol, but this is his big masterpiece that paved the way for giants like Dostoevsky and Tolstoy. The story follows a mysterious man named Kaikaika who lives in a provincial Russian town. He's polite, charming, and spends his time visiting various landowners to have nice chats and build rapport. But then, he makes a totally bizarre and chilling offer. He asks to buy their dead souls. In that era, souls referred to serfs, the peasants who were tied to the land. Because the government census only happened every few years, landowners still had to pay taxes on serfs who had died until the next official count. Kaikaika wants to buy these dead peasants to take the tax burden away from the owners. Like, what is his real goal? Who is this man? It's a brilliant setup that explores the strange and hidden parts of Russian society. It's so mysterious and gripping, Shinragi Kaimara-san. The real charm of Dead Souls is how it fearlessly reveals the unsightly parts of Russia that no one wanted to talk about at the time. Before Gogol, literature was often more idealistic, but he brought in the real messy people, the drunkards, the debtors, and the shady characters. This created the very foundation for later giants like Dostoevsky and Tolstoy to build upon. But what really hit me, Shinragi Kaimara-san, was the portrayal of serfdom. I used to think serfs were just farmers paying taxes, but in this book, you realize they were treated almost like slaves, sold, and forced to move by their owners' whims. It's such a powerful, realistic look at Russian society before the emancipation of the serfs. Seeing how humans can be treated like names on a ledger made my heart ache, but the way Gogol captures that reality is just so profound. It's a heavy theme, but it's exactly that weight and honesty that makes it an absolute masterpiece. You can really feel the soil of Russian literature being formed right here. Next up on my list of Russian masterpieces is Fathers and Sons by Ivan Turgenev. This book is so incredibly important because it perfectly captures the clash between generations that still happens even today. The story starts when a young man named Arkady Karasanov returns home to his father's country estate after finishing his university studies. But he doesn't come alone. He brings his friend Bazarov, a brilliant medical student who is a self-proclaimed nihilist. At that time, nihilism was a radical new movement. It meant rejecting all authority, religion, traditions, and even romantic emotions in favor of pure science and logic. As you can imagine, Bazarov's cold analytical ideas cause a huge storm when he meets Arkady's father and his proud uncle, Pavel, who is a refined aristocrat of the old school. It's a fierce battle of the old world versus the new world. It's not just about politics, it's a deeply human drama about how families try to understand each other when their core values are worlds apart. I felt my heart racing during their arguments. Shinraki Kutemara-san. It's a story that feels so fresh and modern, even though it was written way back in 1862. It's just so good. The absolute charm of Fathers and Sons lies in how it perfectly captures the nihilist spirit through the character of Bazarov. Bazarov is such a fascinating character because he is so uncompromising. He believes in nothing but what can be proven by science. It's like he's trying to be a machine, but this is the heartbreaking part. He is still a human with a heart. When this cold logical man unexpectedly falls in love, his entire worldview starts to crumble, and it is just so incredibly moving to watch. Turgenev's writing is quite different from Dostoevsky. It's more refined and concise, almost like a sharp blade, but it cuts just as deep. It makes us ask a question that is still so relevant. Even if we reject all society's traditions, can we ever truly reject our own human feelings? It's a timeless struggle that resonates even today. Shinraki Kutemara-san. Seeing Bazarov's struggle between his cold ideology and his warm humanity is exactly what makes this book an eternal masterpiece. It's simply brilliant. Oh my gosh, Shinraki Kutemara-san, we finally reached it! The absolute pinnacle of Russian literature, and my personal favorite, The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. This was his final work, completed just before his death, and it's like he poured every single drop of his soul and his life's wisdom into these pages. It's truly a masterpiece of masterpieces. The story is set in a small provincial town and centers around the chaotic Karamazov family. The father, Fyodor Pavlovich, is, well, to put it bluntly, he's a total scoundrel. He's greedy, vulgar, and lives only for his own pleasure. He has 3 legitimate sons. The eldest is Dmitry, a passionate and impulsive man who is in a fierce, violent conflict with his father over an inheritance, and, believe it or not, they are both chasing the same woman, Chirashanka. Can you imagine the drama? Then there's the middle son, Ivan, a brilliant but tormented intellectual who struggles with the existence of God and suffering. And the youngest is Alyosha, a sweet, angelic novice monk who tries to be the peacemaker in this dysfunctional family. There's also the mysterious servant Esmerdiaka, rumored to be Fyodor's illegitimate son. The tension builds and builds until finally a horrific murder occurs. The father is killed, and the story turns into a gripping psychological thriller and a profound courtroom drama. It's not just a whodunit myth, it's a wide tip that explores the very depths of human nature. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. It is absolutely mind-blowingly intense. What makes The Brothers Karamazov an absolute masterpiece is that it is the ultimate collection of every theme Dostoevsky ever explored. It's like his entire life was a rehearsal for this book. The Grand Inquisitor chapter is so world-famous Shinragi Kaimara-sama. It's a fierce battle between Ivan's codological atheism and Naoyahasi's gentle faith. It's so intense that it has influenced countless writers and philosophers. But the real magic is the message of hope. Dostoevsky himself lived a chaotic life, gambling, debts, you name it, and he wrote this to show that even someone who feels like a scoundrel can find salvation through a single, beautiful memory. As Alyosha says at the end, even one wholly good memory from childhood can protect and save a person for their entire life. Despite the dark atmosphere and the long, complex sentences, the final message is one of massive hope. It makes you feel that the world is truly wonderful after all. It's the highest peak of world literature, and though it's a challenge, the emotional reward at the end is life-changing. You absolutely must experience this journey. Moving on to the next masterpiece, we have the legendary War and Peace by the great Leo Tolstoy. If there's a ranking of world classics every reader should tackle at least once, this would definitely be in the top 10. It's set during the Napoleonic Wars between 1805 and 1812. The story centers around two very different friends, Pierre, a wealthy but socially awkward illegitimate son of a count who is searching for the meaning of life, and Prince Andrei, a cynical nobleman who seeks glory on the battlefield. It's not just about them though. With a whopping 559 characters, including real historical figures like Napoleon and the Russian general Kutuzov, it weaves together the piece of high society ballrooms and family dramas with the war of epic, bloody battles. It's a massive journey, about 2,400 pages in total, but it's like experiencing an entire century of human life in one go. It's truly a majestic tale of how individual fates are swept up in the grand tide of history. Shinragi Kaimara-san. The real magic of War and Peace is Tolstoy's absolute conviction. Unlike Dostoevsky, who is always searching, Tolstoy presents his answer with such power. His message is so clear: history isn't made by one great man like Napoleon, but by the tiny, everyday choices and accidents of thousands of nameless people. When you finally reach the epilogue after 20 or 100 pages, it's like Tolstoy is talking directly to you, saying, "See, this is what I meant." It feels like a total revelation. Even with 559 characters, every single life matters. It's not just a story, it's a whole world that teaches us how to live. It will honestly change how you see your own place in history. Shinragi Kaimara-san. It is just so incredibly grand and satisfying. I love it so much. Now, let's talk about something a little different from those massive novels. Our next masterpiece is the play The Cherry Orchard by Anton Chekhov. If Dostoevsky is fire and Tolstoy is the earth, then Chekhov is definitely a gentle, melancholic breeze. The story is about an aristocratic woman named Lyubov Ranovskaya, who returns to her family estate in Russia after living in Paris. The estate is famous for its breathtakingly beautiful cherry orchard, but there's a huge problem: the family is completely broke, and the estate is about to be auctioned off to pay their debts. A wealthy merchant named Lopakin, whose father was actually a seraph on this very estate, offers a practical solution: cut down the orchard and build cottages for summer tourists to save the family. But Ranovskaya and our brother are so stuck in the past and their nostalgic memories that they simply can't bring themselves to face reality. They just drift along, hosting parties and talking about the good old days while the sound of the auction gets closer and closer. It's a bittersweet story about the end of an era and the inability of people to change even when their world is crumbling around them. It's so delicate and heartbreaking. Shinragi Kaimara-san. Huh? Oh, Shinragi Kaimara-san. The true charm of The Cherry Orchard is its incredible, bittersweet irony. Even though it's about the tragic loss of a home and a lifestyle, Chekhov actually insisted it was a comedy. Can you believe it? It's because he's showing us how absurd and silly we humans can be. We talk about our feelings, but we never truly listen to each other. It's exactly like real life, isn't it? The atmosphere is just, well, it's so delicate. While those massive books by Dostoevsky or Tolstoy are like a raging storm, Chekhov is like a quiet, melancholic evening breeze. It captures that exact moment when one era ends and another begins. The characters aren't real. They are just people who are too weak or too nostalgic to change. And that final scene, the sound of the axe hitting the cherry trees and the silent skit gives me goosebumps every single time. It's a masterpiece that shows us that even when things are falling apart, life just keeps moving. It's so beautiful and sad at the same time. You absolutely have to experience this quiet power, it's just the best. Next on my list is a book that actually changed the history of science fiction, Shinraki Koimaya-sama. It's way by Hideki Isamiyakin. Did you know that classics like George Orwell's 1984 and Aldous Huxley's Brave New World were actually influenced by this very book? It was written in the early 1920s in Russia, and it is a terrifyingly brilliant dystopian novel. The story is set 1,000 years in the future in a place called the One State. People don't have names, they are just numbers. Our protagonist is D503, the lead engineer building a giant spaceship called the Integral. In this world, everything is ruled by math and logic. People live in glass houses so the state can watch them at all times, and every second of their day is scheduled. There is no I, only we. But then, D503 meets a woman named I-330. She wears ancient clothes, she drinks forbidden alcohol, and most shockingly, she introduces him to the idea that he might have a soul. Suddenly, his perfect mathematical world starts to crack. It's such a gripping psychological journey into a world where freedom is seen as a crime. I'm getting chills just talking about it. Oh my god, the real charm of Lee is just so uniquely brilliant and ahead of its time, Shinraki Koimura-san. What I find absolutely fascinating is how it uses mathematics and science as the ultimate tools for happiness. In this world, everything is solved by a formula. They believe that if you follow the logic, you can't be unhappy. But, and this is the scary part, that means there is no room for the individual. Samyakin was a genius to suggest that in a perfect state, having a soul is actually a dangerous illness. Isn't that wild? It's a direct ancestor to all the famous dystopias we know today. Without we might never have had 1984. It explores the terrifying idea that a perfect society requires the death of creativity and freedom. Seeing D503 struggle between his love for cold, beautiful equations and his growing messy human feelings is so heart-wrenching. It's a shorter read compared to the massive novels of Tolstoy, but it packs such a punch. It feels like a poetic sci-fi fever dream that you just can't miss. It's the ultimate book for anyone who loves thinking about the price of freedom. Okay, everyone, and especially you, Shinraki Koimura-san. We have finally reached my final recommendation, and let me tell you, it is a total wild ride. It's The Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. This book is absolutely insane, hilarious, and deeply moving all at once. I just love it. The story begins in 1930s Moscow when a mysterious foreigner named Professor Wolan arrives. But here is the secret, he is actually the devil. He isn't alone either. 気持ちきよかさん、こんにちは。読書家の読書家による読書家のための配信へようこそ。今はロシア文学の魅力を語っているところだよ。特にブルガーコフの巨匠とマルガリータは、巨大な黒猫と悪魔がモスクワにやってくるはちゃめちゃな展開で、もう最高に面白いんだ。こんな話ならいくらでもできるから、ぜひゆっくりしていってね。 肝付清香さん、おはようございます。ミニコネコの読書配信へようこそ。今はロシア文学の巨匠とマルガリータの魅力を熱弁していたところだよ。巨大な黒猫が悪魔と街をかき乱す姿、想像するだけでワクワクが止まらない。本の話なら私にお任せ。最高の朝にしようね。肝付清香さん、悪魔の仲間の巨大な黒猫ベーモートなんだけど、彼は2本足で歩いてウォッカを飲むんだよ。私にも猫耳があるから、なんだか親近感が湧いちゃうな。あとね、この本はゲーテのファーストがモチーフになっているのも有名なの。常に悪を望み、常に善をなす力の一部っていう悪魔の定義が最高にクール。厳しい検閲を乗り越えて、作者の死後に世界中で愛されるようになったこの熱い歴史、語り出すと止まらないよ。こういう刺激的な本はいつ読んでも最高だよね。The appeal of the Master and Margarita is just mind-blowing. It's like a spicy magical cocktail of satire, fantasy, and deep philosophy. You know Shinra Kaimasan, there's this famous quote in the book, manuscripts don't burn. It gives me goosebumps every single time. Algiaco wrote this while he was being suppressed by the Soviet government, knowing it might never be published in his lifetime. He's saying that true art and the human spirit are immortal and cannot be destroyed by any censor. It's so rebellious and cool. And Bahima, a giant black cat drinking vodka and causing chaos with a pistol? Yes, please. He's definitely my favorite. Right underneath all that hilarious madness is a heartbreakingly beautiful story about the power of love. Margarita's devotion to the master is so pure it can even move the devil himself. It's a masterpiece that proves that even in the darkest, most oppressive times, humor and love can set us free. It's wild, it's magical, and it's absolutely unforgettable. If you haven't read it yet, you are missing out on one of the greatest literary parties in history. Manuscripts don't burn, and neither does my passion for this book. Well, what an incredible journey we've had today, Mitsuki Sayaka-san. We've traveled through the snowy roads of Gogol's Dead Souls, debated the radical ideas in Turgenev's Fathers and Sons, and dove deep into the spiritual depths of Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov. We felt the grand scale of history in Tolstoy's War and Peace, heard the bittersweet sound of the axe in Chekhov's The Cherry Orchard, saw the chilling future in Samyatin's Wheat, and finally witnessed the magical rebellion of Bulgakov's The Master and Margarita. Russian literature might seem heavy at first, but as we've seen, it's bursting with life, humor, and the desperate, beautiful search for what it means to be alive. Whether it's the great Russian soul or the struggle for freedom, these books stay with you forever. They aren't just ink on page, they are pieces of the human spirit. I'm so happy I got to share my passion for these masterpieces with all of you. I hope you found at least one book today that makes your heart race as much as mine does. There is so much magic waiting for you in those pages. Thank you so much for hanging out with me until the very end, Kimotsuki Sayaka-san. I had an absolute blast sharing these 7 legendary Russian books with you. My cat ears are practically twitching with excitement just thinking about all those deep soul-shaking stories.